I wanted to start with fruit. Now, when I go to the grocery store, I go every Monday, so I went yesterday, and I try to buy fruit that will last throughout the week, and I'm going to give you a few tips on how I do that. And normally I get a little bit more, but they didn't have a large selection of organic fruit. I usually get a combination of things, so I will get berries and things that we will need to eat within the first couple of days. And then I get things that will ripen and we can eat, in 5 days. And then I try to get melons and things that I can cut at any time. So one of the things I purchased was strawberries, or you could get blueberries or raspberries. I know that we have to eat these within a couple days. Normally when I get home from the grocery store, I will go ahead and wash these and slice them and put them in the refrigerator, and we will eat them right away. I just left them whole so that I could show you. I will wash all of our grapes. So these are the things that we're going to eat first. The bananas I purchase, I usually get them so that they need a few days before they will ripen. So we'll start on the berries and grapes, and then we will eat the bananas. And say I purchase pears or peaches, that would be towards the middle to end of the week, so I know I'm still going to have fruit that will be ripe at that time. So I try to get a variety of things that will last throughout the week. And then I know my watermelon is going to be good, and I have a large one, so I could cut some, a couple days after I go to the grocery store, and then I could cut the other half later in the week, and it usually lasts us throughout the week. So those are just some tips on ways to purchase fruit so that it will last throughout the week. So if you bought all berries to last for a week, you know that it won't last for a whole week because they tend to mold before that time. But if you purchase some berries and some, pears or peaches, bananas and things like that, then you know that you'll have some fruit that will ripen later in the week. And then sometimes, I get apples and oranges and things like that. Those are, pretty much ripe right when you buy them, so you can have those, and those tend to last at least a week. So I try to get a variety in that way. Now, I didn't purchase a lot of fruit this week that needs to be kept out of the refrigerator, but normally I will have at least one full bowl of fruit, and sometimes I have two. If I buy a lot of apples in the fall, or oranges, peaches, pears, things like that, I will put them in a fruit bowl on the table. And this is the only food that we have out, so this is what we see, and this is what we tend to eat, which is much healthier than, bags of chips on top of the refrigerator, or something that someone can grab. The food that we see to grab is fruit. Now, of course, a lot of this is going to be in the refrigerator, but that is another tip. And also in the summer, nectarines in the fruit bowl always smell so good, and it just makes you want to eat them. So that's another way to get your fruit in and make sure that you're eating it because it is in sight. So I went ahead and washed all of my grapes and washed and sliced my strawberries, and I put my grapes in individual bags, and we can just grab a bag. This is especially nice when my boys have to pack lunches, or if I want to bring grapes to the gym with me to eat after. I also put our strawberries in individual containers. You can just put them all in one large container, and I've done that before, but this is nice so that we can just grab them. So I just keep everything in a drawer, and everyone in the family knows where to find it. And this just helps because if you don't go through the process of washing it when you get home, then sometimes no one wants to bother when they're hungry to wash the grapes or whatever, so then it can tend to go to waste. So if you have it already washed and individually wrapped, it just makes it a lot easier, and that way you won't waste it. So we usually just work on the strawberries and grapes first, and then after a few days I will cut the watermelon. And usually if I have a really large watermelon, I will cut half of it and cut it into cubes, and then wrap the other half and just cut it a couple days later, and that way it will last a little bit longer. You can either cut it and put it all in one large bowl, and your family members can just go ahead and serve themselves when they want some. Or to make it a little easier, you can also put it in individual containers. And I do like containers that are a little bit bigger for things like cantaloupe and watermelon, because those large chunks, not very many will fit in the smaller ones. These are 24-ounce Ziploc containers. You don't have to get these. I'm just giving you some examples. So you could do that with your melon and put them all in separate containers, and that way if you have to pack a lunch or your kids have to pack a lunch or you want a quick easy snack, it's already divided up. It also just really helps things not to go to waste. So that is one thing that I often do. I also wanted to give you some tips on how to store vegetables and how to make them last longer. So I always keep things like tomatoes, garlic, peppers in a bowl on my table, and that way my tomatoes can ripen and things like that. And I'm constantly using garlic when I cook, so it's right there. I always buy grape tomatoes. They're one of my favorite things, and I usually take them out of the container and put them in a dish, and that way again they are where I can see them and then I'm eating them. There's something quick that I can grab. I also use them to top salads, and that way they will ripen and stay nice and fresh. When I purchase a bag of onions, I always take them out of the bag that they come in and I put them in a Ziploc bag and store them in the refrigerator, and they last so much longer in the refrigerator. And when I buy containers of either spinach or lettuce, I always put a cloth napkin inside. So as soon as I open the container of either lettuce or spinach, I will put a cloth napkin right on top and just put the lid back on. And what this does is it absorbs any of the moisture that is in the lettuce or spinach, and it will last a lot longer, at least 3 days longer. And you will see an enormous difference if you just keep a cloth napkin in there. I used to keep paper towel in there, but I don't purchase paper towel anymore. I just use cloth to clean and things like that. I find that a cloth napkin actually works better. It's going to absorb more of the moisture, and then you don't have to waste paper towel or anything. So that is a great tip. I really like that one. As far as things like asparagus or green onions, fresh green beans, things like that, one thing that I have found is to put them in a Ziploc bag. And again, if I'm not going to use them within a couple days, I will put a cloth napkin in there as well, and that will absorb some of the liquid. The same goes with fresh parsley or bunches of cilantro, things like that. If you just keep it in a Ziploc bag with a cloth napkin, it will last a lot longer because that cloth napkin is going to absorb the moisture. These are frozen, so they aren't going to look very pretty, but I did want to share this with you. You can freeze so many things. One thing that I do is purchase the package of organic bell peppers at Trader Joe's. So there's usually a yellow, red, and orange one, and it's a little bit cheaper there, and I only go once a month. Obviously, they aren't going to last me the whole month, but I do like to use peppers in cooking. So what I usually do is use some of them fresh in salads and things, and then I will go ahead and either slice or chop them and store them in the refrigerator. They do recommend that you blanch your peppers before you freeze them in order to maintain the nutrients, so you can definitely do that. It's very simple. And then things like ginger root, I usually just use a little bit, and it's very cheap just to get a piece of it, but I don't like to waste things, so I will use what I need, and then you can definitely freeze this. You can also chop up any celery that you have and you're not going to use and just keep it in your freezer. I do that a lot in the fall and winter when I add celery to soups and things like that. You can even freeze onions. I usually don't freeze my onions just because I use them before they go bad and they're in the refrigerator, and they tend to last for a long time. One of the things that I have recently started doing to make my life a little simpler is to buy lemons in bulk. I like to use organic lemons, and my local grocery store does not sell a single organic lemon, and sometimes you can find a bag of organic lemons. So now when I find a bag of organic lemons, I can go ahead and purchase them knowing that I can freeze a lot of it so that it won't go to waste. So I went ahead and cut 3 of my lemons into wedges, and I'm going to freeze those, and I use those in my water. And then I juice the other 3 lemons, and I just put the juice in these ice cube trays, and I can just pop those out when I'm ready to use them. And then I also zested the lemon so that I have the frozen lemon zest here that I can use whenever I want to add a little bit to a vegetable or I want to use it for baking. I have some frozen lemon zest here. And then I'm not planning to waste the rest of the lemon. I'm going to put them in the garbage disposal and then run the garbage disposal, and it makes the kitchen smell so nice and fresh and clean with that nice lemon scent. So if you just take a few extra minutes to think about what you're going to use and make sure that you store it properly or freeze it before it goes bad, you really shouldn't have to waste any of your fresh produce. I am going to do another video and I will give more tips on ways that you can use things up if you just have a little bit of spinach left or a little bit of tomato paste and things like that. I just didn't want this video to be too long. I'll also include different ways that you can use up other food besides produce. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I gave you some tips. If you have any tips on how you store your produce or freeze it, please leave a comment below, because I know it can be very helpful for other people who might be reading through the comments. Thank you so much for watching.